It's time for the Yacht Club Show.
Needed now more than ever.
With Killer, Rev D, and Dr. Jim.
Well, welcome back to the first Yacht Club show of 2025.
It's been a while.
Been a little hectic.
Well,
it's hectic for us as it has been in D.C., I think.
Well, it's like we've talked about. It's hard for three retired guys to get together.
It is.
Find
it is.
time to
What, a week or so ago, we finally got together in the studio, and then I had a technical issue. I had a Microsoft software update overnight, and it wiped out my sound cards device drivers.
Probably
so I had to fix that.
I'm sure somebody was trying to keep us off the air.
It felt that way. And then we had another setback, and it's like, what's going on here? Maybe God's trying to tell us something. You guys are going to rankle too many people with your show. Saving us from ourselves.
I guess.
And today it's just you and me, Rev D.
Yeah, Dr. Jim bailed on us. We tried to get him, tried to include him, but he's probably in sunny Florida right now?
Yeah, he's in sunny Florida, and I just felt like it's been too long. Let's get the two of us together and at least get something out there, and then we'll kind of whet people's appetite for when Dr. Jim comes back.
Well, there's so much going on right now.
That's right.
You know, I mean, we got to. I'm sure people have been waiting to hear what we have to say about
our legion of listeners.
We like to think that they have.
Well, there's been a couple of victories for the Yacht Club show crew. I got to commend you on winning the Pete Hegseth
yes,
bet.
I did well with that.
You did.
$6-7 I won on that.
Yeah, we had a big
bet.
pot. Everyone chipped in $1. So Dave came home a winner with $6 that night. Hegseth got confirmed. He was the only one that thought he would.
But the more important victory, Dr. Jim.
And Dr. Jim, that's right. The Make Holy Family Softball Great Again trophy.
The coveted trophy.
He won the overall Detroit Lions bet for number of victories and points, something like that, or combination.
Yeah, we had combination of to run a little contest, but Dr. Jim called it.
Yeah, he did. So big couple weeks for the Yacht Club crew. Nothing but winners. You know, where do you start, right? After this,
there's a lot going on.
After the start this year has had, I thought maybe we could maybe use this as a foundation for our discussion today. It's a email or newsletter I got from those that subscribe to the Free Press. Got from Bari Weiss. Bari is a founder and editor of the Free Press and host of the podcast Honestly. And from 2017 to 2020, she was an opinion writer and editor at the New York Times. Before that, she was an op-ed and book review editor at the Wall Street Journal and a senior editor at Tablet Magazine. And, I looked her up at Wikipedia. Consensus is she's left center.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think that would be my. But I think didn't she get fed up at the Times that they were too far left? She started her own. That they weren't listening to other people.
Yep.
Other voices.
Yep. But anyway, I got an email today, and very timely. An address she made to the Alliance for Responsible Citizenship, or ARC, which was formed in 2023, and the organization's goal is to develop a more hope-filled vision for the future and ultimately to relay the foundations of our civilization. And this year there are 4,000 people that attended the London conference, and I'm just going to read some excerpts from her speech, kind of get us kick-started. She mentioned how different things are this year as opposed to last year. Now I'm starting to quote her a little bit. Perhaps another way of saying this, that is, are you tired of all the winning? And she goes on to report the conservative movements that have been happening around the globe, particularly in North America, South America, and Europe. I'll post a copy of her speech on our website, yachtclubshow.com. Check it out. And of course, there's America. Whatever you choose to call Southern Gulf, we seem to have a border again. Acknowledging our own sovereignty is a first step toward peace through strength, not only in the United States, but our allies. Israel's hostages are at last being liberated from torturous dungeons. Meanwhile, J.D. Vance is reminding Europe of the necessity of free speech and political liberty. The Doge boys are saving America billions. Our Secretary of Defense is working out in the snow with the Green Beret. Google is dismantling DEI, Mark Zuckerberg is into masculinity, and everyone's ditching seed oils. Birthing persons are out, mothers are in, so is merit, natalism, techno-optimism, rocket ships, comedy that's actually funny, and weirdest of all, the village people. So many of the things so many of us have been going on about for the past decade, the stigmatization of common sense, the shaming of those who suggested that crime should be illegal, the casting out of those who refuse to parrot the mindless slogan of the day are at last going out of style.
But this is a cautionary tale.
So we chose Donald Trump, and the left lost its mind. The president won the popular vote for first time in 20 years, and Republicans now control every branch of government. Trump is enjoying his highest approval ratings ever. Looking back, it all seems so clear, the reaction entirely inevitable. So what can we learn from recent history? One big takeaway is that if a political movement does not police its ranks, does not draw lines, if it neglects to protect its borders, if it does not defend sacred values, it cannot long endure. And what are these values? They include the rule of the law, the belief in inalienable rights of each individual, that we're all created in the image of God, and it is that, and not our ethnicity or our IQ score, that gives us worth and makes us all equal. It's a rejection of mob violence. It's the view that the West is good and that America is good, and that we deserve our heroes along with our whole complex history. These values are not left or right, they are foundational. Now here's the cautionary tale. This is what we want to get into. But that's not the sense you get online these days, and some places offline too, where power is celebrated instead of principle, where power is quickly becoming the only principle. If that continues without being challenged, we may wind up spending the next few years watching the same story we just lived through on the other side, as the far right, not the one defined by cable news, which includes most of us here today, devours what remains of the center right. So it's a cautionary tale. She's warning us that, if we go too far with this, and she's seeing early warning signs, this is going to shift again. And you, Dave, you've talked about, I remember one of our very first shows, you've talked about that pendulum swinging.
Pendulum always goes too far left or right.
Yeah, and then it comes back.
Then it comes back. It never gets to the center, though.
No.
And I understand what you're saying, and I suppose it is a possibility. Now, I am not, maybe you can speak to this more, I'm not online to know the what the far left or the far right is saying. So I'll have to defer to her on this. I just, right now I don't see it with exposure that I have to things. And the other thing I wonder is, the far left became very good at making their point, articulating their point. Marches, the George Floyd riots.
Right.
Remember they were out there, and the press covered it.
Yeah.
The press covered it.
Right.
So you thought that was mainstream thinking, and I think in reality, they got a lot of. We've joked about AOC. She gets a lot of play, but do her ideas really resonate with majority of people, and I'm not talking left or right, just the majority of people. Right. I think she mentioned in there common sense.
Yes.
Okay, and I think that's what people are looking for. The Joe Manchin or Fetterman comes to mind too right now as far as common sense.
Yeah, they seem to be their own person, think for themselves, as opposed to just doing voting party lines, whatever the case may be. Yeah.
So I think that what happened is that if you didn't agree with what the far left was espousing, you were vilified, and there was something wrong with you. All right, so instead of saying anything, people just shut up. They didn't. Remember, we would joke about you. Nobody would 4 years ago be caught with a MAGA hat. You wouldn't. You wouldn't wear that anywhere. Okay.
Exactly.
And so I think they did very well in shutting discussion down.
Yep.
Because there are some fair points.
Right.
That they're valid points that they made, but they went too far. That people said we can't handle that, and I think that's why. Personally, I think that's why Trump got elected this time, is that people just said enough. And we can talk about Harris and her good campaign, bad campaign, and good candidate, bad candidate. But I think it was a lot of it was just people were fed up with having that far left agenda jammed down their throats.
It felt that way.
So the question would be then, what is the far right? What are they espousing at this point? Maybe you can help.
Let me ask you this. When Pam Bondi was confirmed, or when she was being grilled, she was promising she wouldn't use lawfare to go after Trump's political opponents. Now it looks like she wants to go after, like Letitia Jones and maybe even Alan Bragg. I'm not sure, but I think she's got New York in her crosshairs. Is that productive? And is that far right, or is it just Trump being petty and vengeful?
First, I haven't seen it. Okay, and I'm not saying she's not going after them. I just have not read it or not aware of it. Well, let's assume that it's true. Okay, I look at that as I suppose you could look at it as far right. I'm going to look at it as if Trump being petty.
Yes,
would be more of my my thought on it.
So it's power over principle.
Yeah,
what,
you just
Barry
you messed with me for 4 years. I'm gonna get you. I don't see anything productive coming out of it.
No, it concerns me. I think we saw lawfare, and I'm sorry. That's absolutely what it was in New York, and it's like, all right, so we turned the page. We've got a new party in control. Let's grow up, put on our big boy pants, and just move forward. I don't think Trump's wired that way. He wants revenge.
I don't think he's wired that way either. I agree with you. I agree with you on that. But I'd also wonder, is Jones and Bragg, should they be in their positions? If they practice lawfare, should they be in those positions?
Right. I guess that's really the question.
Yeah.
Do you use lawfare to go after the initial offenders?
Right.
To get them out of
and I suppose if you in the Bible, it was Solomon, wasn't it? Yeah. Solomon. So I suppose if you put Solomon in charge instead of Jones or Bragg, then you can do it. But if you put in who's a wacky far righter, you put somebody
sure there's plenty.
Yeah, I'm sure. If you put somebody like that in charge, well, what have you accomplished?
Yeah.
With at that point.
Exactly. Quick break. You are listening to The Yacht Club Show. Another one of my concerns. So Doge is finding a lot of opportunities, right? They're cutting what's viewed as unnecessary organizations, roles. They're finding contracts without suitable documentation, no accountability. I think they found like $4 trillion in money spent that was completely undocumented. They have no idea where the money went. if nothing else, if they can bring accountability moving forward, there'll be a huge step forward. But they're looking to slice trillions of dollars. If the Republicans don't turn around and slice the deficit, what's the point of all this? And there's no indication right now, unless you've seen or read something, that they're going to take this savings and pay down our debt. Because I think they're proposing tax cuts, a.k.a. revenue cuts.
Yeah, I just know what I've read about the budget bill, that they've reached some kind of a consensus. I do think that there is a general tone in Washington. The spending has to be reasonable. It's gone out of control. The last 4 years, and we talk about Biden, but even Trump in his first 4 years, and then Obama, and it's gone up every year. Nobody since Clinton and Newt balancing back, it was the mid-'90s. It's been it has not been good under any administration. But I think there is a growing awareness in Washington right now that we've got to pay the piper now.
I hope you're right, because I was listening to one podcaster. He says, I see the savings on one hand, and it looks like the Republicans are just looking at savings, a big money fund for their own pet projects. And there's been no real talk about paying down the debt. So I hope you're right.
Well, I think part of the thinking is tax cuts will boost the economy. There'll be more tax revenue comes into the coffers, and we don't spend that. Because my understanding was with the Trump tax cuts that the receipts did increase, but we ended up spending it all and more.
Okay.
All right.
So you're saying it brought more money in through the tax cuts?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've found something to back that up, Dave. Supporters claim that despite initial revenue losses, the tax cuts spurred economic growth and eventually led to higher than expected federal revenue. By 2022, federal tax revenues reached a record $4.9 trillion, which was $1.6 trillion higher than when the tax cuts were passed, and $884 billion above projections.
Yeah, that was my understanding. Now, I'm not going to say that you couldn't go on the internet and find somebody to refute that. But I think that there is a tone in Washington now that they are understanding that we need to cut our spending, that it's just gotten too far out of control. Now, where we cut it and where we find the savings, I mean, that's going to be the argument here. But I think overall that there is an awareness on both sides.
Yep. So I touched on the lawfare thing. I've got some reservations going in. I get your point that if these people really did abuse their positions, maybe they should be investigated. So I get your point there. Concerned about the deficit. You've talked about that time and time again. If we're heading toward bankruptcy.
To me, that's Armageddon. That if we don't take care of do something about the deficit, like we've talked about, you and I are going to be fine, but our kids, grandkids, they're going to be paying for that.
So no matter what you say about Elon Musk, I say go for it, man. Find every misspent dollar, because it just seems to be endemic to the federal government. So anyway, so that's concern number 2. Concern number 3, and you and I shared a couple emails this week. We've got a couple liberals, right, in our Holy Family Softball Retiree Club, right? Will from Walled Lake and John from Farmington Hills. And they remind us that, well, let me read the words that are written on the Statue of Liberty. These famous words come from a poem titled The New Colossus, written by American poet Emma Lazarus in 1883. The poem was composed as part of a fundraising effort to build the pedestal of the statue. While the Statue of Liberty was a gift from France, Lazarus' poem helped shape its meaning as a symbol of immigration and welcome. And here are the most well-known lines from the poem. I actually memorized these. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door.
Well, if you remember it so well, why are you reading it?
Well, I wanted to make sure. Though the poem was not originally part of the statue, in 1903, a bronze plaque with the text was mounted inside the pedestal, solidifying its association with the statue's symbolism of freedom and refuge. Powerful words. All right. We've had this issue. We've had this open border. We've let in a lot of bad people and good people, but a lot of bad people because there's no gatekeeping, right?
Right.
It's just wide open. Everyone would have to agree something has to be done with immigration.
Okay. So what's the first thing that has to be done?
First thing in any situation, you have to stop the bleeding, right?
Right.
So you're in triage. You got to close the border. I think Trump's doing a great job there. Now, he had to do some saber rattling, which was very distasteful for a lot of people, both in Mexico and Canada, using the tariffs as kind of a negotiating ploy. But Canada and Mexico seem to have found a little more urgency in helping us at the border.
Right.
I think he's going to continue with the wall. There's more border security agents. And if you look at the migration numbers, gone way down. Within a week, they dropped significantly. So it's fair to say we're stopping the bleeding.
We're on the right track.
We're on the right
right
track.
track, yes.
All right. Now, what's next? Let's look at the criminal element that came in. Seems to me they're doing a pretty good job of that, too. Now, some mayors or whatever are giving them a hard time about yanking some of this criminal element out of even jails and hospitals.
Which I don't understand. I don't understand their thinking that why you'd want to keep a criminal element here.
I don't either.
Unless they're afraid that law-abiding people will get swept up in this.
Right. That must be it.
That's the only thing I can think of in this.
But, you got these gangs, you've got, Trump used to say this and everyone would say it was just hyperbole, but we've let in rapists, you've let in murderers, you've let in gangs. They got to be deported, right? That's step 2. And I think that's happening. It's step 3 that I have a problem with.
Okay, what's that?
I know that they're illegal, aside from the fact that they broke our migration law. What is the harm of having an amnesty or a path to citizenship for those illegal immigrants that are otherwise law-abiding citizens that are working in various fields, agriculture, construction, hospitality, food service, manufacturing, domestic work, housekeeping, childcare, elder care? What is the harm in letting them stay? We've stopped the bleeding. What is the harm in letting them stay and getting them amnesty? Now, I know what your argument is going to be, well, what about everyone that followed the rules? How is that fair? And my response is, what's done is done. Blame it on us for having a non-existing border. We're partially to blame here for this happening. Who might qualify as law-abiding? If law-abiding refers to those who have no criminal record, beyond immigration-related offenses, pay taxes. So I'm assuming if they're getting a paycheck in these jobs, they're paying taxes. Avoid additional legal trouble. Then estimates suggest that the vast majority of unauthorized immigrants, likely 8 to 9 million or more, fit this description. However, no official number. So we're talking 8 to 9 million people. In a country of over 300 million, is that absorbable?
Okay, and I would submit to you, nobody really knows the number.
Okay.
Okay, but let's use 8 to 9 million for argument's sake.
Okay.
Let's do that. Okay, I'm good with that.
Okay.
All right.
Shouldn't we be able to absorb that if they're already contributing to the bottom line?
Should we be able to absorb that? Yes. I don't disagree with you. And I don't know how you are going to, practically speaking, round up all these people and send them back. I don't
know. Do you just go into a sanctuary city and just start, rounding people up and throwing them on the bus? That just sounds so inhumane to me.
Well, I think public would never get reelected with that.
But that's what Tom Homan is saying.
Okay, you're right. You're right. I guess he may do that. I kind of look at this as more of the saber rattling that Trump did at the border or with Mexico and Canada about the border, the tariffs, to get everybody's attention. I think Holman is wants to put the fear of God in everybody right now. Now you can argue if that's a good strategy or not, but I think that's what he's doing right now.
Okay.
So whether he follows through or not, we'll have to see. I've not seen it yet, and that's not to say that there's somebody who meets the law-abiding illegal immigrant. I don't know how I've put it.
Yeah.
I don't know that. I'm not saying nobody's been swept up in that, but I think generally speaking, what they've gone after right now is the criminal element. Okay, you had mentioned a path to citizenship. There I would disagree with you. Okay, I think they should. Personally, you should stay here permanently. I'm okay with that, but it shouldn't be a citizenship.
You don't think they should be able to apply at some point in the future?
No. You broke the law. It's like Catholics in purgatory,
Or babies in limbo.
Yeah, limbo. There you go. You broke the law. There should be some ramifications for that. I mean, we can pass a law for anything. Can you give them everything, but they can't vote? How's that? They can't vote, but you can participate in the system. So citizenship, no, I don't. That would be my.
That's interesting. So
be my tuck.
What about their kids, who all they've known here? They're born and raised here.
You're talking the DACA kids now. Yeah, I think they should be citizens.
Okay.
I do.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting viewpoint.
Yeah. I'm not completely heartless in this thing, but I just think there has to be some ramifications for that.
Okay. Pro DACA.
Yeah.
Allow the law-abiding illegal immigrants. You're right. It's kind of an oxymoron, isn't it?
Right.
I mean,
well, when you're trying to differentiate between things, yes.
Allow them in, stay, pay taxes, but they don't get voting rights because they broke our immigration laws. And I hear you loud and clear, Dave. I know what you're saying. It's like, it's been 4 weeks?
Right.
Has anything super egregious happened other than, ticked off Canada?
Everybody's hair's on fire right now with, bald or thinning like me, your scalp's on fire right at the moment. But no, I think people have to take a step back. And you may not like everything that's been done, but I agree with you. Let's kind of see where everything shakes out right now. I think part of the problem is that people don't like Trump. It's just
they're just not going to.
They're just not anything
positive
that
outcome that
nothing
comes
that
out
he
of
does.
his policies.
There's just he's the Antichrist. So right now, and it's a pendulum thing again.
There you go.
We're talking about the pendulum just went back too far, and now we're
and that's what Bari Weiss is talking about.
Maybe we'll go too
now
far.
Now we're going to go too
way.
far right. All right. Let's try to hold off judgment until June. Hopefully we'll connect up with Dr. Jim soon, who's on vacation. And that'll give us time to do a little more analysis of
we'll digest
really
thing, and it'll give Trump another few weeks to come up with some more stuff.
Some more wild stuff.
There you go.
I'll tell you, if he brings peace in Ukraine, I don't know. Will he bring it, or will
he force it?
Force it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think you have to wait how it plays off, and everybody's analyzing. Everybody's got it's like belly buttons.
Yeah.
Everybody's got an opinion on it. Everybody's got a belly button. Okay.
Yeah,
well, let's see what really shakes out here before we
Sounds
decide.
Good. All right. Catch you next time. Music by War on Drugs, as found on the Internet Archives, archive.org.